The best tunes of all moved to Carnegie Hall. Yes, the best tunes of all moved to Carnegie Hall.
The best tunes of all moved to Carnegie Hall. Yes, the best tunes of all moved to Carnegie Hall.
It's 8:30.
It's 8:30 New York time. Time to wake up, America, and stump the experts. Each week at this time, Lucky Strike acts as referee in a contest of wits between the Information Please experts and our coast-to-coast listening audience. You provide the questions, and our experts try to answer them. Remember, for every question used, Lucky Strike will give you not only $10 in war stamps, but a set of the 12-volume Britannica Junior Encyclopedia. If the question is muffed, you get the Junior Britannica plus a $50 war bond plus a 24-volume set of the regular Encyclopedia Britannica.
The best tunes of all moved to Carnegie Hall. Yes, the best tunes of all moved to Carnegie Hall.
Send your questions to Information Please, 480 Lexington Avenue, New York City. If our editorial staff edits your questions a bit, don't fret over it. In case of similarity, we'll have to be sole judge of who shall be paid. And all questions become the property of Information Please.
The best tunes of all moved to Carnegie Hall. Yes, the best tunes of all moved to Carnegie Hall.
And now light up a Lucky Strike as I present our Master of Ceremonies, book reviewer of the New Yorker magazine, Clifton Fadiman. Mr. Fadiman.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Ladies and gentlemen, spontaneous and unrehearsed as usual, Information Please brings its trio of regulars, Oscar Levant, Franklin P. Adams, and John Kieran, now presiding over a daily column in the New York Sun and other papers, and as its guest, that great Hollywood master, Alfred Hitchcock, whose new picture, Shadow of a Doubt, is thrilling large audiences now on Broadway. Now we're going to begin with a question from N. Ogintz of Detroit. What happened to a character, whether of fact or fiction, because of lying? He or she lied, and something happened to him or her. Who was that, and what did happen? Mr. Adams.
Well, it might have been Bluebeard's wife.
Did she lie?
She lied, said she wasn't in that there closet.
As a matter of fact, well, what did happen to her as a result of it?
I think there was some mortality connected with it.
No, as a matter of fact, she got away with it, didn't she? Wasn't she saved? As I recollect,
she was saved, but she was in trouble. She was threatened.
Well, you're the master of threats, Mr. Hitchcock. What did happen to Bluebeard's wife, remember?
Which one?
I didn't know that your acquaintance was as wide as that. Mr. Levant?
She wound up in a ballet last year. Bluebeard's Wives, it was a ballet.
That settles her. All right. I was thinking of the character from the Bible that
yes.
Mr.
Peter lied twice, and then went out and wept bitterly.
Yes, there is one. And who, Mr.
Ananias.
Ananias. What happened to him?
I don't know.
Would you like me to tell you?
Yes.
For the same money?
Yes.
He was struck dead because he lied unto God. And he was struck dead. What happened to Pinocchio, Mr. Levant?
He changed into a semi-animal form, a complete peculiar animal. I have at home, my baby's room. I don't know. What is that? Bambi.
Oh, no, ask your baby. I'm sure she reads. Pinocchio's nose grew longer with each lie that he told. Now, what happened to a character of fact or fiction because he or she pried? We've had lying. Let's have prying now. Mr. Kieran.
Well, Alice in Wonderland cried. A mouse cried in Alice.
Not cried. Pride. P-R-Y-E-D.
No, I said cried. I'm sorry.
Prying. Mr. Hitchcock.
There was Peeping Tom.
Peeping Tom, what happened to him?
Well, when Lady Godiva rode through Coventry.
Yes.
And Tom peeped. I don't know what happened to him.
He got his eyes stuck out.
Yes. He was struck blind. That's quite right. And, matter of fact, Mr. Adams, your first answer would have been correct for this one. Bluebeard's wife pried. Her name, by the way, in case you care to collect these things, was Fatima.
Fatima W. Bluebeard.
Fatima W. Bluebeard, yes. Her life was saved because she pried. How about it, Mr. Hitchcock?
Has that anything to do with pride goeth before a fall?
Oh, that's Adams' specialty. You can't take that away from Adams. He needs this job.
Pride goeth before understanding, and a haughty spirit before a fall.
Hey, that's wonderful. The Reverend Frank P. Adams. I never suspected it of you, Frank. How about a character to whom something happened because he or she whyed? Now, that's W-H-Y-E-D. Did too much whying. In other words, asked why too
Fanny
often?
Bryce and Snooks.
That's right, Mr. Levant. Very good. And what happens to Fanny Bryce?
Well, if we can't answer her why, she'll get an encyclopedia. I don't know. She just says, why, Daddy? And,
yeah, that's right.
And then they're renewed for 26 more weeks.
yes, but not before she gets what?
She gets a piece of candy.
Oh, no, just the opposite.
She doesn't get a piece of candy.
That's right. She gets spanked. She gets a spanking almost every week. How about this one? From Francis D. Moore of Brookline, Massachusetts. I think this will appeal to you particularly, Mr. Hitchcock, because as I understand it, you're quite an epicure. Or do you deny the soft impeachment? What part of an animal's anatomy is served when you eat the following things? Suppose you're eating tripe.
That's the inner lining of the stomach.
Yes. Is it any good?
I've never tasted it.
You would never have cared for it?
With plenty of stuff on, you can hardly notice it.
The inner lining of the stomach.
It's a good rubber substitute. They wouldn't take my advice on that.
It would make very good bath mats.
What animal is it taken from? Unwillingly,
Sheep,
doubtless.
I think. I'm not
Cow.
Steer,
Cow.
cattle, yes, that's right. Now, how about sweetbreads? If you're eating sweetbreads, what are you eating, Mr. Levant?
A brain. Or
Oh,
two
no.
brains.
The
No,
pancreas.
That's just wishful thinking, Mr. Levant.
Pancreas.
The pancreas. What are pancreas, Mr. Adams?
Isn't it something in the throat?
Oh, no, it's a liver thing.
Well, I believe pancreas are sort of gland, aren't they?
It's around the liver.
The pancreatic gland.
Well, there is a gland in them. They're little odd things of no particular interest to anybody.
But very good.
Doubtless very good. That come from a calf or of a similar animal. Now, how about
Maybe
giblets?
with the meat shortage, we should be eating appendices.
Very possibly. Giblets, gentlemen. What are giblets? Mr. Hitchcock.
Giblets are the unused part of a chicken.
Well, they're not unused if you eat them.
From
They're
an
used-
edible standpoint.
They're used in our house.
We make gravy from them.
Well, if you don't make gravy from them, but eat giblets just so,
It's anatomically
Chicken liver,
censorable,
you can
isn't it?
eat.
well, liver, gizzard,
That's right.
It's a
and
gizzard.
also the heart. All those things are giblets. And as a matter of fact, very good, too. How about this one from Grace Chiafalo of Brooklyn? This is a musical question, gentlemen. I want you to name the composer of these pieces of incidental music and the play that each adorns. Let's have the first. Got a hand at once from Mr. Levant.
Midsummer Night's Dream, Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
Mendelssohn wrote the music.
Mendelssohn wrote the music for Midsummer Night's Dream. That's quite right. Now, how about the next? Mr. Hitchcock?
Oh.
That was your hand, wasn't it?
No, Mr. Levant has it.
Mr. Levant.
If Mr. Hitchcock knows it, I would...
No, Mr. Levant should have it.
He's awfully nice, Mr. Hitchcock is.
Well, it's Lars Lien Suite by Bizet.
Yes, that's quite right. La Lesienne, the Prelude by Bizet. That's quite right. Now, the third and last. Mr. Levant again.
That's a September song by Kurt Weill and Maxwell Anderson.
Yes, what's the play called?
Something about Knickerbocker.
Holiday?
Well, that's it.
That's it. That's 3 out of 3, Mr. Levant, and good going. By the way, Mr. Hitchcock, weren't you going to say La Lesienne by Bizet on that second one?
I was, but I didn't know the play to which it was connected. That's why I hesitated.
Oh, you're too cautious. On this program, we're never cautious.
You asked for the play to be named.
Well, isn't there a play called La Lesienne?
Maybe I wasn't.
Mr. Levant, do you know?
Well,
Or is it
there
just an
wasn't.
opera?
He didn't get paid off, Bizet. He wrote incidental music for the play.
Yes. How about this from Margaret B. Rawn of Lancaster, Pennsylvania? Again, on this one, yet 2 out of 3. This is about famous cases, some of the murder cases. In which famous case was the guilt fixed by the purchase of hyoscine? The purchase of hyoscine. Mr. Hitchcock.
The Crippen case.
That's quite right. Will you tell us a little about that, Mr. Hitchcock?
Well, Dr. Crippen was an American dentist who lived in London, and he was married to a music hall performer, a woman called Belle Elmore. And he gave her hyoscine. He was in love with his secretary.
Hyoscine is a poison, of course.
Poison, yes. And then he eventually disposed of the remains of the body in his house in Islington in London, and then escaped with his secretary to Canada. And the case was one where wireless was used for the first time to apprehend a criminal.
That's a perfect answer, Mr. Hitchcock.
And Dr. Crippen was arrested in the mouth of the St. Lawrence by an Inspector Dew, who came aboard disguised as a pilot officer.
How was the tide running at the time? That's first rate. Now, how about this? In what famous case was guilt fixed by a ticket to Syracuse? A ticket to Syracuse.
Will that be an American?
Yeah, I know that
It
one.
was. I have several
Snyder
hands. Mr.
Gray
Adams.
case,
That's
yeah.
right, Mr. Adams. The Snyder Gray case. Do you remember
Judd.
how that happened?
Snyder Judd.
Mr. Fadiman, I was going to guess at that.
Mr.
Oh,
Gray,
that's a shame,
Mr.
Mr.
Gray
Hitchcock.
was on a corset-selling tour in Syracuse and went to a hotel there at the time.
Yes, that was his
and
alibi.
He fled there after the ex post facto.
That's right. He tried to establish an alibi by having the tickets discovered in Syracuse, indicating that he'd gone to Syracuse at the time when he was supposed to have done the murder, I suppose. Now, how
I went
about...
to Syracuse a couple
Pardon?
months ago.
You were there?
Yeah.
Gloomy cuss, aren't you? Now, in what case was the guilt fixed by uniforms buried in sand? Uniforms buried in sand. The discovery of them established the guilt of people connected with them. Well, there's one you don't happen to know, apparently. The case of the Nazi saboteurs who were recently apprehended on Long Island and in the coast of Florida, too. They buried the uniforms along with money and explosives and firearms, and the uniforms were discovered, and they, as you know, were apprehended and executed. Well, that gives us 2 out of 3. And how about this one from F. Cook of Berkeley, California? Where in literature or the theater does the action concern a glove? The action revolves around a glove that might be in a poem or play, Mr. Adams.
No, I'm wrong. I won't do it.
Mr. Kieran?
Well, in Browning's famous poem about the woman who threw the glove into the den of lions, in fact, 3 different poets wrote poems about that.
That's right, Mr. Kieran. Who were the 3 poets?
Well, Browning was one. I believe Leigh Hunt was
That's right.
another, and I've forgotten who
I think a
the third
German
was.
poet. Was it Schiller?
You forgot your glove.
I know there were 3, anyhow.
You forgot your glove. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
That makes 4.
Yeah.
Yes. That wasn't Schiller, that last one, though, Mr. Levan. I can tell that. Now, where does the action concern a garter? We move from gloves to garters. Mr. Kieran?
At the founding of the Order of the Knights of the Garter in English court, I believe it
Yes,
was.
but that would be historical rather than in literature or the theater.
I know.
Oh.
Mr. Adams?
In a play called Getting Gertie's Garter.
Yes. Who wrote the play, Mr. Adams?
I don't know, but I think Mr. A.H. Woods produced it.
And it was written by Avery Hopwood and Wilson Collison.
But
Mr. Levan?
I don't connect any crime with that.
No, no. You want to get crime at every question?
That's the question
I
before that.
can.
No, there's no crime involved. This is a harmless,
All right.
joyful, gay question. Mr. Levan?
There was a memorably funny sketch by Noel Coward called La Flamme with Beatrice Lilly and Noel Coward, in which you see her garter from time to time. Miss Lily's garter.
I don't remember that,
And it
but
was
doubtless
quite
you
funny
do.
and other things.
Yes. Now we
This
have a
year,
glove
please.
and a garter. Now, where does the action concern a girdle? This might be from mythology or the theater or poetry. Mr. Kieran?
Well, I think it was an attempt to get Minerva's girdle, wasn't there?
It wasn't Minerva, I don't think. Any of you remember a little more closely than Mr. Kieran does? Almost impossible. Have to count that wrong unless you give us the exact data. Well, it was one of the tasks of Hercules. One of the 12 tasks of Hercules
Yes,
was to
I thought it was Minerva.
get the girdle of Hippolyta.
Oh,
Hippolyta,
that's
the
right.
queen of the Amazons.
Then there was Ziegfeld, who wrote this thing glorifying the American girl.
Is that the play called Boy Meets Girdle? Is that the one?
The best tunes of all move to Carnegie Hall. Yes, the best tunes of all move to Carnegie Hall.
Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake. In a cigarette, it's the tobacco that counts. And Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. So round, so firm, so fully packed, so free and easy on the draw. No wonder that with independent tobacco experts, with men who know tobacco best, it's Lucky's 2-to-1.
The best tunes of all move to Carnegie Hall. Yes, the best tunes of all move to Carnegie Hall.
And now, with everybody's permission, we'll get back to the program. This comes from Mrs. Irving Goldman of Brooklyn, New York. I would like you to recite for us 3 proverbs or quotations, well-known sayings, that mention different servants or household workers. Not by name, but by grade. Yes, Mr. Adams.
Well done, thou good and faithful.